effort, the effort, the sincerity, the willingness of him to love children is beautiful. So, Uncle, thank you so much for being here. And when I asked, you said I want to talk more. I want to talk today. I want to talk on the last day, and I want to really convey what I know to all these beautiful mothers. So, thank you so much, Uncle, for being here. It means a lot to us. So one of Uncle's requests is, please switch on your videos. It's more nice talking to humans than to blank screens. So please switch on your video. And Uncle, you're there. You're good to go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So thank you for this opportunity. Hi, Urmila, my collaborator in crime. Yeah, only very few mothers have stayed on the issue of children. What I always see is that mothers get concerned about children only when they are child. As the children grow up, then they forget everything about children. Very rarely you meet somebody who consistently engage with children. So which means that not your children. And I think this is the biggest problem, that you are only concerned about your child is the biggest problem of modern life. What that means is you're absolutely selfish. You're not bothered about anybody else other than your child. See, what I'm going to tell you is not going to be easy. So, and I have to tell this because, there's no point in, I don't do any strategy, or I don't do any, sweet talk and all that. I have been brutal with myself, and I'll be brutal with things. But if you want to hear lies, you can tell me. Do you want me to make you happy? Then I'll tell you lots of lies. If that is not the case, then, but it's very easy actually. See, I've been trying to do this workshop called Do Nothing Parenting. Actually, you don't have to do anything, but only provided. Okay, let me ask you one thing. How many of you believe in God? You can just put like this, Yeah, at least some of you believe in God. Yeah. Actually, it is a lie. You are making it up. If you believe in God, then you will believe in her creation, which is a child. You don't trust a child, and that is where the whole tragedy begins. When I don't know about God, but I know life, and life creates life, and life creates with this intention of with absolute fitness, absolute fullness. There's nothing wrong with the child. But the way we engage with the children is as if there's something wrong with the child. Well, you're not, see, please don't, see, one important thing I would like to first and foremost tell you is that don't take the blame, because none of us are responsible for our thoughts. Our thoughts are conditioned by the system that is all around us. So only very few of us are able to face it and come out of this. It's not easy. Unless there is some tragedy happens or some drastic thing happens. Very few people are gifted that they come to know without any, they just come to know something is not right. And it actually takes time. You see, I was expelled when I was studying in third year or so in engineering. And that was my turning point. So some life has to beat you up once, Then you wake up, something is not right. But, every time life gives you this, small hints, but small hints are not enough, because we are so insensitive. Small hints are not enough. For example, when a child cries, when you send the child to school, it's a hint that school is not a good idea at all. But somehow, so every time your body tells you messages, you don't listen to that. Your child tells you messages, you don't listen to that. You know, so this is a fundamental problem. So what happened was that when I was, my parents were teachers, very loving, but they were teachers. I hope you understand that, no? See, because what is happening is that today there are no homes and there are no parents. There are only teachers. There are only schools. So your first school is your home. Then you have other, you have different names. That's okay, play school and whatever. But basically, we are creating an environment for teaching. Any environment for teaching is school. So, and parents are busy teaching. So what are they then? They are teachers. See? So basically, then that is the kind of life I had, and in fact, I was staying in a hostel from my 5th standard up to 11th, and in fact, so when I come home, they would make a timetable. So by 7th standard, I hoped that there are no more holidays. I preferred the school to the home, because that was more school-like than, because in the classroom there are 32 students, so attention is divided between 32, and you can always, as a backbencher, you're always saved, but at home, not easy at all, so I'm just giving you a background of how this whole education turned out for me. So engineering, 4th year, I was expelled. So one question that came to my mind is that, I was in Bhopal, and it was a regional engineering college. I could not find even one person who is committed to learning, nor among the students or with the teachers. Not one teacher. See, please don't mistake that. They were all loving people, nice people. They wanted to pass. I'm talking about a different thing altogether. We have created schools so that there is engagement with knowledge. Am I right? That doesn't seem to be there, because nobody seems to be interested in knowing. Everybody wants good marks and everybody wants good job. But to understand what life is all about, I think that is what knowledge is all about. I found it absent throughout my life. In school, I looked at, not even one person in school I found. Students, no. So this is what really troubled me, that what is this, tamasha happening? That we say that we have schools and we, but so I thought, because I was anyway expelled, I took a drop and started teaching in a school. I wanted to have a first-hand experience of what the hell is happening there, So I went there and I spent a year with children. I had no idea what to do, but I was hanging around, and doing some kind of teaching. And so that was a very good time for me, because first I was looking at what is happening with children. And as all people normally, because initially we all want to repair the schools, make it better. I had the same idea, how to teach them better and that kind of stuff. But then I joined back to design and to engineering, and I took 2 decisions. One, never do any 9-to-5 job. Second, never do anything that you don't like to do. So that is a very, very crucial decision. Because what I found was that everybody was dragging their life. Nobody was enjoying, They have this half-an-hour evening entertainment. Other than that, 8 hours of drudgery. I felt this is not the way to live, So somehow I copied and passed all the exams and, and then luckily I got into NID after 1 year of not doing anything. National Institute of Design was a fantastic environment. I'm talking about 1984. 85, around that time. So fantastic environment. And for the first time, I encountered what I call as a learning environment. And till then, what I was experiencing was teaching environment. Teaching environment, everybody is busy teaching. Secondly, knowledge is there, ready-made. So you convey. That's the condition. And true learning environment is, there is no knowledge, ready-made knowledge. Knowledge is something that you create. And everybody is involved in creating knowledge. Of course, this is an ideal situation which actually exists in rural, tribal, non-literate communities. But even at NID, there was a lot of scope for that. And I actually, I created an environment for me like that because NID had enough freedom for that. So I'm not talking about the general NID environment. Of course, there is ready-made knowledge and all that. And the problem that I found with NID was that it's very clearly West-centric. See, I always say, one friend used to say that, there are NRIs and there are RNIs, RNI is a resident non-Indians, like all of us. What education does, what modern education does is to turn us into Westerners. So there are people who go there and stay there, they are resident Indians. Oh, they are living abroad. We are living inside, but we are culturally and psychologically Westerners. Because you see, how many of you engage with play date and all that kind of nonsense? I'm sure most of you must be doing. Nah? Where do you get this nonsense from? Play date. You see, there's a tragedy of the Western educated, Indians is that they bring all this nonsense that is happening in the West and spread it around here. And whatever books you read is all from the West. You see? And so let me now tell you what is a fundamental paradigm difference of what I'm going to talk about and what West's paradigm of education, children. The whole research that has been happening on children is on how to teach children. I call this a deficit syndrome. Deficit syndrome means something is wrong, you have to repair it. So you can look at it from the whole Western paradigm. It is always that the other is wrong and we have to repair them. So it starts with their initial thing of civilizing the non-Westerners. So civilization through development, civilization through religion, so all these are conversions. So education is nothing but another kind of conversion. I hope you understand this. What education does is to convert you into one kind of thinking. But you are made to believe that you are very intelligent people, so you take it without any resistance. Right, I'll give you one fantastic example. This 6-year-old child came back from school and he told me excitedly that, what teacher told me today? Earlier, people used to think that the earth is round. Now they have understood the earth is flat. I was so happy hearing this because there is at least one intelligent child that will not take this nonsense of believing a teacher. He's just 5 years, 5-year-old child. I felt so good. So I kept quiet. Wow, fantastic. I met somebody who is at least seeing the world. He doesn't see any evidence. But after 6 months, I asked him. It just reminded him, this is what you told me that day. So he gave me a funny smile and told me, no, it's the other way around. So I was wondering that in the span of 6 months, what must have happened to him? There are only two ways. One, the teacher must have beaten him up and told, tell the earth is round. There is no other choice. Second is to plead him. Please say the earth is round, otherwise they will throw me out. The educational officer will come and that's what he'll do. Are you getting my point? Modern education is nothing but shifting from religious superstition into scientific superstition. The tag is scientific. This is all what you're doing. You're just nothing but believing everything that they're telling. Please understand that I'm not telling things are wrong. Things may be right, things may be wrong. Whatever Newton said may be right, may be wrong. Or whatever, whoever has told that, But where is your mind that is engaged in at least inquiring one thing? At least one thing. All your education, have you inquired into one thing that you understood? So actually, this is the trap that we are in. We illiterates are the most uneducated, truly illiterate people. Because, so NID was a fantastic experience. And you see, I'm telling all this because unless you take an independent individual journey, you won't be able to help your child, because you are the problem, not the child. Child is perfect, complete. I'm sure most of you must have heard this slok, Purnamidam Purnamadal, that, na? So this Purnata is the nature of the child. It is Purn at every stage. When it is crawling, that is the crawling stage. You cannot repair it. You cannot add anything to that. Every stage in a child's life is complete by itself. But what modernity continuously tells you is that something is not right, you have to do something. So this is where we are trapped. So, I'm elaborating my experiences only because I undertook a deep inner journey, that I was able to see through the matrix that we have created. Nobody is, other people are not responsible. We have within our mind created a structure, a window to see the world wrongly. So then it is our responsibility to work on this frame. It's this frame, nothing else is a problem. It is a frame that makes us see certain things in a certain way. So, so NID experience was fantastic, fantastic in the sense, of course, I really had to question many things. One is the imposing of aesthetic sense, Western aesthetic sense onto my sensibility. You see, there are three realms at which our conditioning takes place. One is at the realm of language. So through information, they tell you this is that, this is this, like that. But, you read 4 or 5 books and then you can maybe neutralize the effect a little bit. And the second level is the emotional impact of this. The emotional impact is that most educated feel inferior to the West. Am I right? That is the emotional impact of getting education. That invariably the educated non-Westerners feel inferior to the West because they are the one who dictates everything. The whole knowledge comes from there. Our job is only distribution. No? It's like the ration shops. No? Distributing information. That's all what we do. We add a little bit. Maybe sometimes it is the some wrong things are input, so some right things are input. Exactly what happens in a ration shop. So you distribute it. And information, emotion. And the third is at your sensory level. This is far more dangerous. Sensory level means your body itself is conditioned. So what you think you like is not what you really like. That has been imposed due to various things. Maybe it could be even simple thing like status. Some rich person is doing that, so I want to do it. So somewhere, without your knowledge, that sense of beauty enter you. So you no longer are in control of your even what you like, So this is what I began to really work on. And at NID, another very important thing that happened to me was that I was not happy with the priority given to the mind and action. So what normally happens is that you plan what to do, and then you execute the action. Am I right? You get this point? No? Somehow I was not happy with that, and somehow I'm feeling that no, this is not the way to do. And I started directly working with materials. So I started working with clay, and luckily the teacher there threw me out of the department. So I was saved from teaching. That's what I wanted to say, because I actually began to learn on my own. So before I continue, let me just ask you 1 or 2, 3 questions. Everybody knows how to make chapati? Who taught you? Sabari, just tell me, Sabari, who taught you? Unmute and tell me who taught you. Unmute and oh, it's difficult to unmute? You can unmute. Oh, anybody can unmute and tell me who taught you how to make chapati. Whoever can unmute.
We observed and
I started making chapatis when I was in grade 7. While no one taught me, it was just a continuous practice.
Okay. And swimming, do you know swimming? Who taught you? Anybody who knows swimming, if you can tell me who taught, I will ask, then you can tell me. Yeah.
trainer.
Coach.
Yes, through a swimming trainer. He just put us
Okay. What about cycling? Some of you know cycling, and who taught you that?
My father taught me.
Okay. Now just look at let's look at it slightly differently. So our assumption is that somebody has to teach us how to do various things. Am I right? So let's look at it like this. If I say that chapati making is actually taught by atta, cycling is taught by cycle, and swimming is taught by water, will you agree with this? Think about it very clearly. Sabri, what is the problem? See, look at it like this. When you are making dough, where are you getting the feedback from? From your mother or father? From the atta, no?
from that.
The atta is telling, no, pour more water. Or there is less water. And in order to cycle, the skill you require is balance. Am I right? No other skill, nothing else is required. Skill of balance. Who gives you this skill? It's in the cycle. What is in the cycle, you acquire it. I hope you understand this very clearly. Learning is a very, very different thing than what most people think. Learning is a two-way process. Anything that you learn transforms you. Anything that you learn, anything that you experience shapes you. And this is very crucial to understand, because unlike animals, human child is a possibility. Human child are given learning ability. But the initial stages of learning is observe, absorb, imbibe. No judgment. You must understand this very clearly. Children doesn't know how to judge at all, but that is not our nature. Nature has not given that. So don't even try to teach the child how to judge. Initial phase in a child is to absorb the world and become the world. What is happening around it? It will absorb, imbibe, and become that. So that is why it is extremely important that whatever you are, the child will pick up. And for a species survival, the first thing a child normally learns is to be a mother, not even a father. First thing a child imbibes, because that is the most crucial thing of any species. Am I right? You agree with this? What should any species learn first? To mother, to take care. The first experience of a child is the mothering, is the mother. So the first game that children play is mother game. I hope you understand this. When you feed the child feeds you back. Haven't you experienced it? Anything that you do, the child will repeat. But that is a process by which children imbibe and absorb this behavior. So my so NID was so I would like to just tell that particular instant, because that's a very, very important issue. You see, you must understand that modern crisis is a big crisis. It's not a small crisis. It's not something that you individually encountering. It's a modernity as a whole is under a crisis. And that crisis, you can see, is the best proof is the way that how we have turned against life itself. This whole question of sustainability is arising because we turned against life. So really what we have done is that we turned against the nature of things. That is the reason why modern people are against children, because children are nature. So the first problem is that we are fragmented into mind and body. So let me tell you what is how I began to engage with this. So once I started working with clay, and as I told you, there was nobody teaching, I began to engage with it, and then slowly, the clay began to teach me what to do with it. I hope you understand this, because normally in a teaching places that they will tell you that there are 4 methods and there are 5 tools. Am I right? They will give you some tool, they will teach you method, and then you go around with that. Luckily, I was saved from method and the tool. So I began to discover everything, even a tool. When I require an activity, I began to understand that, I can do this. You see, I am, also going into learning because I want you to understand that learning is the nature of life. And the child is a learner. So if you don't understand the mechanism of learning and both the and its biological limitations, biological boundaries, we are bound to make mistakes. That's why it is very important to engage, with what exactly learning means. Learning actually means self-forming. As I told you, it's a two-way process. What you learn, in turn, makes you who you are. So whatever you are is a result of your environment that you imbibed and absorbed. Right? So, actually, after NID was a fantastic experience. My real, change took place after I started living with rural tribal communities. In rural tribal communities, the most important thing that I understood, that I experienced, was that there is absolutely no teaching at all. So I was living with different kinds of artisan communities, potters, and and of course, when you live in a village, you see other artisans. There are bamboo weavers, there are farmers, and nowhere there was teaching involved. And other very important thing is that children never ask permission for anything. Parents never deny permission. That idea doesn't occur to them, that you can even deny permission or you need to even ask permission. Because that's why, see, we have a foundation called Existential Knowledge Foundation, because we found that there are certain existentially established rules, which is rules of life, which is what non-literate people, practice. That's not because they know it, because they are it. I hope you understand the difference. So I began to very, very deeply document what is happening within the within indigenous communities. And it is actually from there that I understood, or I found that there is an absolutely different way in which children grow up, the kind of conditions that is created. So that is what I would like to share with you. So if you want to ask quickly something, and one or
Uncle, you're on mute. Uncle, you're on mute.
when did that happen? Just now?
Yes, just now, Uncle. Just a minute. I'll just mute everybody. 1 minute.
Yeah.
Mute.
Durgesh, it will be better if we unmute after Uncle finishes his talk so that he doesn't get disturbed.
Yeah. That said, but I don't know how to do it. Could you please?
Yeah, I'm doing that.
Okay. So Uncle, you finished off saying that somebody has questions from what you've spoken until now.
Yeah. I may not answer it, but let the questions come out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if there is any questions, we can do that. But I will, after that, I'll do a presentation.
Okay.
We'll take the questions after.
No, he wants to do a question session now. Presentation.
one or two people who are, holding the question, they can let it out.
So Charumati, you've raised your hands. Do you have any question, Pa?
Unmute. She can't unmute, I think. Charumati can't unmute. Or would you like to do it later?
Maybe. Some
All
more
right.
wait. Okay.
Okay. So let's. Okay. So this presentation is called From Conditioning to Awakening. So this is two paradigms: an indigenous paradigm or non-literate communities paradigm, where the situation is for awakening the child. But modernity is continuously conditioning the child. That is how we have created the environment. And I would also call it from teaching paradigm to learning paradigm, or transferring information to creating knowledge. So this is one key thing to understand, that in modern context, whenever we think of repairing schools, homeschooling, or any idea, we never talk about creation of knowledge as a necessity. All of us are trapped in teaching the child, whether it is homeschooling or alternative school, or So actually, my what I say is that alternative school is nothing but taking children under the tree and teaching them, and homeschooling is you transfer that into home and start teaching them. The fundamental problem is with teaching itself, and the notion that you have knowledge that that you can transfer. This is the myth on which this whole modern things are built. Sometimes it refuses to move. So as I told you, my first-hand experience was, I told you this already, that how in NID I began to understand learning paradigm and school as a teaching paradigm. Now I would like to share with you one very, very important thing, which is that, see, the story till now is ready-made knowledge, and I call it linguistic data, by various names. The tag names are physics, economics, biology, different names are there. That is given to the child, inputs, and the measurement of outputs, and they grade and send them to IITs and NITs. So this is the paradigm of how to teach children. And there is a twist in the story now. Artificial intelligence is brought in, and that's also going to give the same kind of nonsense only. Digital data being given, the teacher will assist teacher, or when I'm telling teacher, it's a parent also. They will assist the AI, again top-down approach, more alienation right process, and continuation on how to teach. So I call this one paradigm. How to teach children is a paradigm. Now, what is interesting is that in machine learning, machines were taught exactly the way how children are being taught. But now the scientists are very keen to have machines that are intelligent. What that means is that machines that can learn on their own, enabling machines to learn on their own. So this is the new thing that they are doing now. So the whole paradox is that this artificial intelligence is being developed by learning how children learn. This is what you people should understand. But the same thing is now will be used for dumping children now. I will give you the proofs. Now there is the whole huge network of various universities and organizations abroad who are researching on how children learn. And the only purpose is to develop more and more smart, intelligent machines. Now, I'm just giving you one idea, that there are far more people. And let me also share a video that I documented for this purpose. Sometimes my machine, this thing is not moving. Angry with me. artificial intelligence. Little patience, I think. Okay.
One can look at the story of computer science and think we have at least 3 ages. One is the age of programmers. In the age of programmers, you have to pay very smart people quite a lot of money to make some system behave in an intelligent way. We are now in the age of labelers, in which you pay a lot of people not much money in order to label data. And both of them, especially this one is n going to infinity, number of labeled data going to infinity. But of course, children don't have big data. We really would like to be able to show one car and one plane to a child, like we do for a child, and then they're able immediately to generalize very well. So our ideal is n going to 1, and to have computers that learn like children from experience.
All right. So there is a whole lot of research happening on how children learn. So for the first time, they are trying to understand. So the key difference that I have been telling was that in my work with rural tribal people, when I compare the literates and the illiterates, the key point I have been talking about is that literates learn the word, illiterates learn the world. So for the first time, the Western scientists are trying to understand how children learn the real world. All this while, the research was how to teach them the written word. Suddenly they have woken up. But please understand this is not for the welfare of children at all. It is only to develop intelligent machines. And also, I have also been looking at the kind of research they are doing. The premise is wrong, actually. There are certain fundamental problem with, problem with premise itself getting wrong. And I will explain to you a little later. And this is regarding the notion of toys. And I have been now looking at this, and I can tell you that even more dangerous than school is ready-made toys, any kind of toys. That is what is fundamentally distracting a child's natural tendency to learn the real world. And I'll explain to you later. But so this is the fundamental problem, because even now they will get it wrong. And the tragedy is that whatever they say is the right thing. They bring in all kinds of theories and everybody go gaga over it. Critical thinking is one nonsense theory that is going around. Second is, there used to be one, I don't know whether it's still there. I mean, of course, in the Indian situation, it will be still there, something called learning styles. Absolutely wrong understanding, learning styles. And there are many, and I can tell you now, another dangerous people that are being produced is what are called as play workers, play therapy, play worker. Now, see, for a child, if you look at the situation in the last 20, 30 years, there used to be 1 or 2 periods that was free for children. Those were the art period. Now artists have come and taken over that, so there is no freedom in that. Otherwise, usually 1 period the children will get free. Now that has been taken over. And whatever time left, there was little bit their freedom regarding playing and doing things. So even that is being taken over. So children are left with absolutely no time for themselves. Complete takeover by adults. So my question is, should we learn from AI how to teach? Or should we learn from children how to learn? So what has happened with modern education is that the destruction of traditional wisdom knowledge systems, even how to create knowledge itself is destroyed in the whole process. Now you can take an example, see, amongst the educated, hardly 10% is actually now involved in producing knowledge, and that too for commercial purpose. If you look at any of these MITs and all that, whatever knowledge they are producing, ultimate aim is commercial. There's nothing for human well-being. It's fundamentally for commercial purposes, and all the funding, everything is being done to promote market and things like that. And the rest are just involved in distributing knowledge. Most institutions all over the world are involved in just distributing knowledge that is produced. Total absence of existential sustainable knowledge for the well-being of life, total alienation, destruction of sensitivity and subtlety. Now, you see, why I am telling you this is because the nature has endowed us with ability to create knowledge. That is what is to be understood. Every living being is learning being, because learning is the nature of life. That doesn't mean that everybody has to become Newtons and Einsteins. At least have the ability to understand your child. The most crucial knowledge of a species is about reproduction and nurturing of a child. Look at the situation in modernity. That is where everything is going wrong. In fact, I am part of some Western parenting groups. It's amazing to read what is happening there. It's such a tragedy. Everybody has turned into absolute dependence. And the problem is that you can't even help them because they are so structured with all kinds of theories. The moment you say a word, they will want to find out which theory that belongs. So there is no direct, engagement, which is what is natural to us. I think the slide is purposely giving me time to rest. So I would say that, the biggest crime that we are doing is to teach children as incapable, and what we do is that we simplify, education, ABCD, miniaturizing the world through toys, distortions through cartoons, and the silly stories by, all belittling children actually. No respect as a being. And children are actually equipped for learning the real life, real world. But we don't allow that to happen. And so this is another crucial thing, that in natural learning, that how children actually understand the world, the content is always the same. It's only the complexity and the width and the depth increases. Unlike, one period after, what we have in schools. So as I told you, there are two paradigms. One is the paradigm of how to teach. I call it the deficit syndrome. And how children learn is the completeness syndrome. I don't know what is wrong with this. I'm always finding some problem with, okay. So one thing that you must understand is that the question that we pose will dictate the answer to that. It must seem very, very simple, but look at this. So our question was how to teach. What to teach, when to teach, how much, how often, how to test, where to teach. So this is what modern people are concerned about. shift the question, how children learn, immediately new series of questions spring up, a total shift in paradigm. What do they learn? If they are learning, then what do they learn? And how do they learn language? What is the role of language? What is the content? And why do they learn? A completely new series of questions come up. So we don't understand children basically because we belong to two paradigms. One is that we are always looking at them as if they need your help. So, and our categories, we have created this categories called learning, play, art, work. Am I right? This is your play time. This is your work time. So we have created these categories, and through these categories, we look at the child. For a child, there is no category at all. The only thing the child does is to try to understand the world. This is another very, very important thing to understand. Product orientation of modern people, whereas children are in process, and our perpetual absence to the present, whereas children are continuously being present to the world. Simple. Let me ask another question to you. What is the color of sky? Can you quickly or hold it in your mind? What is the color of sky? So this question I ask in many, many places, and invariably I get the answer blue from 95%, and 5% smart ones would say, black, blue, different things, red and all that. The same question asked to children, they asked back, what time of the day am I referring to? You see the difference between these two? They are present. They want to know the time. We are absent. We only want to respond to what we know. But this is the difference between being absent and being present. Children are continuously being present, whereas we, the educated, are absent. So as I told you, literates are taught the word, illiterates learn the world. This is a crucial difference. So modern minds are linear, fragmented, compartmentalized, alienated, whereas the illiterates and children are simultaneous, integrated, holistic, and rooted. So this is the crucial thing, paradigm of the unknown and known. So let me just quickly show you something else. This is all too much theory. Let's if necessary we'll come back. This is important. This is important. So unknown as a paradigm, as a condition, what it does to your value system and your cognitive system. Unknown shapes a value system based on humility and wonder. Am I right? When you don't know, the only thing you can do is to observe, with no certainty. And the cognitive system based on senses, body, and experience. And no teaching shapes a value system based on openness, collaboration, cooperation. And cognitive system based on playful exploration, discovery, intelligence, and open-ended process, and autonomous. See, autonomy is, I think, the key word to understand. What we are denying is the cognitive right of a child, which means without cognitive autonomy, no true learning can take place. Only cognitive autonomy can enable the child to awaken. And also this is very crucial, that in such situation, never having felt they have failed or made a mistake. But this is what we educated continuously feel, that we made a mistake or we are failing. This is an artificially imposed psychological category, which is typical of modern person. When you ask anybody to do anything in the modern context, immediate response is based on this, whether I will fail or whether I'll make a mistake. A child will never, explore anything with this as a backdrop. If you fail, that's okay. If they don't fail, that's okay. But we begin with this, because this is our experience of 12, 13, 15 years. So learning is natural. Curiosity is life-given. To learn means to create knowledge. To learn means to shape oneself. Context is the content, not the word. Language is for articulation and communication and not for cognition. All right, so let me just show you some interesting pictures. So this is very, very important, that our ability, so how helpless we are is the point that I'm trying to make. There's a precarious nature of human potential. Children are totally helpless in their formation. Even though the potential is immense, their formation, they are dependent and they are helpless. Please understand this. So even their ability to walk should not be taken for granted. So these are examples of feral children. One is looked after by dog, one monkey, and other bird. So this became dog-like, this became monkey-like, this became hen-like. Because from childhood, parents were drunkards. So the children were, just there and eating what the dog was eating what the monkey was eating. And in fact, the child that you see on the right-hand side, whom I told is living with the hens, his hands is kept like punk wings, and he was eating with his lips as if it is the beak. That is a transformation that has happened to this child. So what I'm trying to stress is that we absorb from our surroundings and become that. So context and condition is all that matters. And this is another very, very interesting experiment that took place in 1930s. They adopted a baby chimp to be with their own son. But within 6 months, they had to remove the chimp because the child was becoming more chimp-like. The reverse was not happening. And how children learn? Let me, just show you some examples of that. How they develop qualities, abilities, process, habits, structure. Senses, this is the most important tool. Not through Montessori method, please. All methods are anti-child. Because senses function not in any methodical way as the Montessorians talk about. Your senses right now, all your 5 senses are functioning right now. There is no order. It can pay attention to something, but everything else is in alert mode all the time. And in most activities, 2-3 of our senses are always engaged in. You may not be consciously aware, but your senses are, your touch sense is invariably working. All your senses, in fact. So observation, attention of all senses, that's what I meant. So take a look at this video. How the child is constantly observing. The dog is not observing. Comparison. Now, this video is the most important video I have. This is the crux of learning. So please pay attention to this. Look at the child, the friend, how the child is comparing the feet. From children, what is life? Taking chance, this is another very important activity children do, repetition. So there are many activities that children naturally do, which quite often we come in the way because we don't understand the value of many of these things. So let me run you through some redefinitions. Learning in the context of children is creation of knowledge. And it's a two-way process. You are shaped by that. Creativity, this is a completely misunderstood idea. Left, right, and center, modern people are using it. And it has been hijacked by artists and designers and people like that. See, creativity is the response necessitated by the condition of unknown. Within the realm of unknown, the way you can function is by a creative response. And every child is doing this because, just the fact that the child are crawling and climbing onto a chair unless you are so teaching the child also to crawl and climb up the chair, that I'm not very sure. Otherwise, children are being creative. Every activity a child does is creative if you don't interfere. Curiosity, again, is a misunderstood word, as if it is something that you have to give children to be curious and all that. Curiosity is again life-given. Everything in life is curious. I don't think humans are this curious. Huh? Look. So curiosity is like human. Questioning, again, there is a problem here because, see, most of us educated assume that questioning means it must take a linguistic form. They must ask a question and you must answer a question. So our understanding of questioning is within the realm of language. No, that is not the thing at all. When whatever the child is doing, when a child is taking something and exploring it, it is asking a question and trying to answer it. So see, the shift is this, that, from the word where we are trapped in, we must understand that it is in the world that actual things are taking place. And learning is a word-related thing, world-related thing. Questioning is word, reflection is world. Everything is related to the world itself, the real world. Play. Playfulness, again, this is misunderstood now. Playfulness is a quality that is embedded in the child, and naturally every act is play. You can see right from what they eat, how they eat, everything that they do, they bring in playfulness. So this is a fantastic example of how the logic behind learning, playing, and toy making. It is all, in one example, I can explain that to you. See, the child took a coconut, one bite, and he looked at it and immediately told it is like the Nandi bull, the horns. And then immediately the child changed it to, changed it to half moon. Now look at the similarity of all this, and look at the kind of comparison. Seemingly there is no connection at all between any of these things. How was the child immediately? Now this is happening spontaneously within a span of 2-3 seconds, And actually, this is precisely the logic that the child applies in creating their toys. So one very important thing that you must understand is that there is no toy as a permanent object for a child. That's why I tell the difference between us and them, as we are product oriented, they are process oriented. Any object can become any toy for that particular instance. So what my definition of play is that play is reenactment of experience by recreating and reliving that experience. And you can also call it reflection. Toy is the object that is used as props in the process of reenactment of experience. Any object that resembles the original object in some way. So this is her child. The same object became vehicle. Now, the tragedy with modern educated is that they think these children are deprived. This is the height of things. And they will start a toy library, and completely kill the spontaneous nature and the real nature of toys. It's already started. Somebody just posted a toy library being, made in Nagpur. And I felt, my God, where is this educated, mindless actually. And they say they're critical thinkers. Again, the screen is angry with me. So ready-made toys are more dangerous than schools. So as I told you, toy is a process. Body as toy. Now, I'm sure all of you must have seen this activity that children use their palm as mobile phone. Have you seen it? If at all you see it, please, whenever possible, without disturbing the child, take a photograph and send it to me. I'm really looking for a or anything that they use the body as toy, I mean, earlier you could see children, their vehicle, everything is body only, they will go around, woo, kang, kang, and all that, I don't know whether children do that even now. Nature as toy, any object that they get. So through this process, they also understand the property of things, like this is hibiscus, the fact that it can stick. And look at the thing that she has put on the hair, it has some Velcro like thing. So it will just get stuck to the body, any object. So now this is his vehicle. And chappals. And now imagination is another word that is completely misunderstood by modernity, because people think that by telling stories and all that, their imagination will increase, No, that's completely a wrong notion. Imagination is when, see, for example, this is an imagination. What is concrete is what gets imagined as something else. Whereas what we have is what I call as imaginary imagination, because our imagination starts from books only. We are not starting from the real world. So from certain, ideas that we have in our head, we keep on building it up and think that that is imagination. So see, all these are part of a natural cognitive process. You should not extract it, take it out and misuse it. I'm also referring to the idea of reasoning. Reasoning is what is getting taken out, extracted from its natural place and getting misused. And that's also happening with imagination. Now for these children, these stones are their children. So that is imagination. And they spent hours with this, giving bath, giving food, putting bindi. Look at this, 2 combs became an aeroplane. So you can see the from process oriented to product orientation, creation of knowledge to belief, presence to absence, quality to quantity. We are constantly engaged with quantity. So natural pedagogy. So this is what I call as teaching without teaching. So this is exactly what happens in a rural tribal area. That person, has clearly a village person, village background. He's just doing his job. That's all. He has no intention to teach. This is another very important thing that modern people will find it difficult, because whatever trick they do, they will have some intention to teach. I'm including me also. I'm not telling that I'm free from that, because all of us are now fragmented and trapped into one kind of being. Shifting from that to a form of innocence, a form of being natural, is going to be extremely difficult. But I think we have to hold this as a possibility, and more like the way, the Zen practices of how, how to do without doing. I don't know how to say that, something like that. So what children learn? Let me explain this. The content of what they experience, objects, processes, household life, whatever the experience, they imbibe. So this is the first lesson. The child experienced eating, feeding. So she is feeding back. So this is what children learn in school. Let me, this was a movie. Let me see whether.
Student teacher.
नहीं अभी तक थैंक यू टीचर बोला है नहीं ना
Thank you, teacher.
नहीं फिंगर आने लगे देखो ना मैंने अभी अभी तो लगाए फिंगर आने लगे हेलो
ಇದು ಒಂದು ಹುಚ್ಚ ಟೀಚರ್ ಸದಾ ಫೋನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು
अरे टीचर के फोन है entendeu uma flor
So what you actually learn in a classroom is to be a teacher. Please understand that this is also the place where your body and mind get fragmented. What that meaning is that, what is your mind preoccupied with? What the teacher is teaching. What is your body experiencing? It is what the teacher is. Fear, the act of teaching. So the experience is what is happening. One part of the experience, what the body is experiencing. But the mind is getting diverted, because if they don't learn that, they will get beaten up. So the mind is paying attention to the language. I hope it is clear. Fragmentation of the body and mind. So this is what actually happens in the when you engage with language first. So this is so interesting that even she turned this particular space into a classroom, and those dots that you see, which is the ceramic dots, these are her students. Just the organization of a classroom she felt, and she started sitting there and teaching them. So what I'm trying to say is, the imagination that children have is immense. Only if you pay attention to that, you will understand it, and you'll be amazed by their capacity. Yeah, see the body language. You can see how she has become a teacher like. See, the body learns that, it imbibes. So what children learn is the form. What I mean by this is that what something look like, what is the function of it. Let me ask you one question that you can see from here through the window, through the camera, please see that when you got the book when you were children, notebook, have you kept it like this, the book, and called it a house? Most of you must have done it. Just kept the book like this, called it a house or a tent or something, right? Second question is, have you put bedsheet over a table and played house? Just bedsheet over a table or something like that, two. Second is that, have you used the pillow, the chair, table, whatever you could get hold of, and created your own house? So these are the three activities that every child is doing. Now, this is the world. The world is of forms, that what you see. Function meaning what is the purpose of it. Process means how it gets built. For that, there are materials involved. And finally, a structural stability is established. So every activity of a child, you can actually put it under any of this category. So when a child is trying to learn the real world, this is what they are doing. So what I'm trying to stress here again is that there is no play, there is no toy. This is all modern concept. The act of playing is a cognitive act. It's an act by which they recreate the world and understand it. So it could be form, size, color, and other attributes, how it looks, how it feels, sensation, texture, temperature, etc. How does it behave? Properties, soft, flexible. I'm sure you must have also seen, or probably you also must have done, when children sit on a sofa, they start bouncing. Have you seen it? When they sit on a sofa, they start bouncing. Why is that every child doing it? So what I'm trying to say is that whatever I'm trying to show you is something that every child is doing. So my question is, if every child is doing, if every child is responding to situation in an exactly similar way, then it must be something much deeper than some nonsense. It is something that life is enabling them to do, and we are going against them. It's something so natural to them, and there is a meaning and purpose in that, which we educated doesn't seem to understand. So form meaning, what I told you this. So they recreate something that looks like something. So in fact, you have books at home. Please let children do this. Don't force them to read. And harder the chatta, the outer thing, better for them. That's, much more conducive for playing. Let them build this fantastic, objects. This is a multi-story building. A fantastic, experience of creating a market. And you can see that each and every object is well thought of, and it resembles each and everything that they have, that, for example, can you guess what are the dry leaves for? The dry leaves, dry fish. And what is interesting is that, there is this violet, you can see here, the violet flower. Can you tell what that object is? For what they represented violet flower? Which vegetable? Any guess? Divya, you don't have to open your, you don't have to unmute. You can still say, I can read your lips and find out. I have stayed with deaf and mute girls for some time, and so I have learned how to lip read. Bengan. You see, so look at the flexibility in children. When they couldn't find a particular form, they immediately found something that looks color-wise represented. And this is so beautiful, how they got this. Function is, what I told you. Put the, bed sheet over a table and created their house. Process is making the house. Structure is once it gets built. Property is, like as I told you, how when they sit on a sofa, they start bouncing. Now, this kind of chair is available in railway stations. And I saw this child sitting on the chair and start sliding. You see, now that is what that particular thing allows you for. There is an interesting term called affordances in psychology. It's a new, newly, it's an old word, but now being used quite often. Affordances means that, for example, what you saw was a good example of affordances. Children immediately understand what it is for, what it could be used for. Nobody has to tell them that. Affordances is that particular thing is making you respond in a certain way. And children immediately know how to do that. So natural Montessori is happening here now. All senses are being explored. And of course, this doesn't happen again. This don't happen in a fragmented way, linear way. It's all simultaneous, mixed up and things like that. So this is one good example of everything being taken care of. The house is ready, function is being used, structure is right. How children learn? So they're experiencing the whole, exploring the parts, and reintegrating the whole. This is the structure. Now, please, I want to tell you one thing. What I'm telling is, this is what children do. So don't take this, make it into another teaching curriculum. This is not for teaching. This is for us to simply respect children and learn from them and recover what we have lost. Don't turn it into another teaching curriculum. Unless you want to teach the professors, no problem. Not for children. So knowledge creation, this is another very important thing. Look at this child, just check whether the child is creating knowledge. So I hope this makes it clear how actually learning is and how knowledge gets created, how care is part of it. So when you're actually engaging with real life, all your senses are functioning, your emotion, your attention, your need for taking care, everything is working out. And this is what actually holistic learning is. People mistake that morning you do something and evening you do some activity that becomes holistic. That's how market is selling idea of holistic this thing. That's absolutely wrong actually. So what now you need to understand is that this we are forgetting our biological inheritance. Learning is fundamentally rooted in biology. It's not a linguistic process. It's a process that is established by life, and every living being is learning. So experience is a cognitive source. Understanding takes place in experience. Senses are the input device. Senses awakens the inner world as it engages with the outer world. So that is why it also learns the outer, takes that experiences and transform oneself. We are nature, and all rules of nature are applicable to our body. Understanding happens by self-organization, where neither reasoning nor language has any role to play. Right? So, are you okay with it? You want me to hear something a little bit more, or should I stop here?
Uncle, whatever you feel, it's right. Whatever you feel, it's right. Okay. So how children learn language is another important activity. Let me just show you. So as I told you, this metaphor in action, what I call, and our normal understanding of metaphor is in terms of language, right? So here, this is father and mother, and next they are lying down. So the role of language, see, children in slums, Bangalore slums, learn 4 to 5 languages by the time they reach 4 years. No teaching, no learning, just imbibe. So here what happens is that adults provide the word, children hear the sound, meaning gets created in experience. For example, when an adult is telling, keep the chair near the table, the child is seeing the chair being kept near the table. Children have not connected word meaning, but the child has understood what was conveyed. So understanding took place before the child had any connection with language. Please understand that. That's very, very important to understand that. I hope you got that point. That before the language understood anything about any word or any language, from the context, the child understood what took place there. So before the meaning of even word or anything that happened, the child understood that, this is what happened. And then slowly, by, again, there is this pattern recognition that happens, Next time the person is telling, take the chair out. So twice he hears the sound chair, one in reference to keeping near the table, one in reference to keeping, outside. So immediately the child, maybe 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. So this is continuously happening. So each word by itself falls into place, So this is very, very interesting, how children create categories. So I'm also now trying to tell you how the relation between the word and the world and how children construct knowledge. This bird is flying, peacock. So the child told this friend who was there with her, look, crow, kaka. And the peacock started walking, got down and started walking. And then the child told Kutta. What is interesting was that the child's first category was that all flying ones
are kaka, because kaka is the first thing that the child learned. First thing that experiences kaka. Kaka flew. So all flying ones became kaka and all walking ones became kutta. So it's very interesting how children build these categories as they slowly enlarge their experience. So this is interesting. Cats are Mimi and dogs are Cuckoo. So when the child saw tiger, that became Bada Mimi. Tiger is Bada Mimi. Look at the way language construction is taking place. This is adjectives. And lion was a little confusing. Face of a lion is like cat and the body is like dog. So the child would keep confusing between these two, you know. But you see the connection between the form. And of course, all these aspects, color, size, texture, crow, sound, all these aspects are the factors that dictate how different categories are formed. You know? So categories are abstracted from the experiences, you know, which has to do with their senses. And the child learns this much before the child learns language. And language is only a convenient to see. Language is convenience, you know. For example, suppose you're calling mango, you understand mango because we have agreed that this is called mango. You know, Marathi it's amchi, Malayalam it is manga, because the Keralites have, you know, agreed upon that. But the taste, whether you are a Keralite or a, you know, anybody, the taste remains the same. So, but people get fixed onto the language as real. Language is convenience. So this is the creation of the language, integrating word and the world. This is extremely crucial to understand. Creation of, so every activity is. Now, one important thing that I want to share with you is drawing. I've been studying drawing of children for quite some years now. And drawing is extremely crucial to understand because in modernity, we have entered, we are now encountering what can be called as a new two-dimensional space. It has started with text, now screens, everything is a two-dimensional space. Whereas our biological ability is to understand the real three-dimensional space. But now we have one more virtual two-dimensional space with which we are engaging. And we found that drawing is actually a biologically adaptive activity, provided we don't interfere at all. So first children experience playfully. They recreate experience which is through play and toy to understand it. And they recreate drawing, which is to understand the world in terms of two-dimensional space. So drawing, you can see that it is actually, you can see the correlation between all the other developmental stages involved in walking and talking and all that. So this is the crawling stage of, you know, observation. You can see the linear progression, the progression that takes place from one line drawing to three-dimensionality. And from words to story, how slowly they build up from this thing. And now this is imagination. This, you know, friend was pregnant. So when she was drawn, the child was also there in the stomach. Then they became a little bit more imaginative and look at the cat with 2 generations inside. And the form, so you will see a very, very similar, you know, thing happening between these two actually. So drawing is the process invented by children to make sense of the three-dimensional world in terms of two-dimensional space. So experience is what, you know, oh, sorry, let me just, curiosity is life given. It motivates observation. It leads to exploration. It leads to development of interest, which builds attention, which builds patience. And it's an ongoing circle. And experience is the basic ground for that. I'm actually stopping. It's too much. Sorry, huh?
No problem.
You see, actually, we run much longer kind of, courses to make people really understand. So I try to put everything together. It's too tiring also. Sorry to say that. I was on a non-stop talking for a long time.
I remember when I attended your class first time in 2017 or 18. It was a 3-day conference. How much I did not sleep every night hearing you was that it took the shift. Uncle, my first question was, every time when I tell my parents or relatives or anybody who are in adult stage, they every time would tell me, we're all turned out to be fine. What's wrong now?
Fine. This is an assumption. We are fine.
Yes.
We are psychologically unfit. You see, I asked this. I have a hypothetical question. Suppose life decides. Now, there is life decides to eliminate people, human beings. Whom would they do? Would they eliminate the educated, or would they eliminate the illiterates? Simple question to ask here. Definitely they will root out all the educated from the face of the earth, because they are so problematic for life. They are so alienated. They are cruel to life, cruel to children. So assumption that we are all fine is a wrong assumption. We are all psychologically unfit. We have the power, so we assume that everything is fine. No, we have power over children. That's what we do now. Just because we have power, we are overpowering them. They are right quite often. That's what is happening. You see, the thing with rural tribal people and children is that by nature, our nature is to trust life. And that is getting misused. That is being misused by modern people. They just trust you. See, I always feel that children are actually non-dualistic. By birth, when they are born, they do not know that there is something called lie and truth, because their existence is in truth. You understand? I remember how I taught a child how to lie. He told me something, and I just told him, tell me the truth. Just that statement made him realize that there is something other than truth. Otherwise, for him, there was only truth. So I did not even use the word lie, mind you. So slowly he mastered that. Then later one day he came to me and he lied to me. And then, of course, I understood from her face. So I told him, my second lesson I gave him, you are lying. Your face tells me that. So I gave him the second lesson, that when you lie, change the face. Simple.
Next question was, like, I used to say this before to my friends, saying that schooling or no schooling, the way you parent it is all it matters. But looking at the schools right now, with online classes going on, people's children sitting all the time, mothers with a lot of anxiety, I'm not able to tell this anymore. School or no school, parenting it is all that matters.
Yeah.
So how do you take this, uncle?
Actually what we did, we are actually engaging with a group of parents. We have 2-3 groups. And initially I started a group and I thought parents will take part and they will engage. There will be certain things, That was not happening actually, because for some reason it was not happening. Another group we started, because there is one person who happened to come to our school, who runs a school. She's a head of primary section. She came all the way to Chennai from Pune, attended the workshop, and then she began to transform her school about 2 years ago. And constantly whenever I hold a workshop, she will come wherever it is. And then slowly she invited us and we began to engage with her. And she's doing fantastic work. So when the COVID started, she created certain groups, parents groups, and fantastic activities happening. Now, let me tell you the difference between these two groups. Please don't mind me telling this. I'm just being open to this, open to you. Now, the group that I am running are English-based groups. Naturally, their understanding comes from the West. Very difficult to engage with them. The other group are Marathi-speaking groups. They're all Marathi-based, lower middle class or middle class types, They are giving far more freedom to children. They are less, stressed. They are immediately able to understand that why there shouldn't be any toy. So what we actually told them was that recreate your environment, house environment, by number one. You see what we have done is that we have our houses are all anti-child houses. First is by keeping tables and chairs which the child has no access. Kitchen going up 3 feet, child doesn't see what is happening. So what I told them was that let's start cooking on the ground. Cooking, eating, cutting vegetables, whatever activity is possible, let it be on the ground. But of course, you have to be careful. So don't just follow whatever I'm telling without using your common sense also. So what happened was that immediately activities in the house changed. And we also told them that if possible, remove all the toys, but slowly, not like a brutal, not like a dadagiri. Slowly, sensitively, keep removing one by one. Children don't miss them at all. Quite often, they don't even miss that they have any toy. One. Secondly, remove as much furniture as possible. So there is ample space for children to do what they feel like. Then I told them, keep some chalks and pencils and all that around and let them do what they feel like, So fantastic activities began to happen. They document, they share. There is, monthly engagement, So it is not that we are telling something is right or wrong or anything like that. No, sometimes we point out that, now this. So because see, the important thing is that we should not interfere and keep teaching them what to do. The less we interfere, the more freedom is there in the child. So this is a very important thing to understand. Freedom is something that is existential. You're born in freedom. We are only taking it away by creating problem. Why children always get angry when you say no is because that is the most fundamental of life, which you are denying. That is why they get angry. You say no, immediately they get angry. It's the same thing with us, no? You want to do something, somebody says no, your immediate reaction, look at that. Same thing with children. So we need to actually, I feel that, so for many people who are actually not freeing psychologically from these constraints are having lots of problem with the COVID. Otherwise, I'm finding that with the group that we are this Marathi group is doing very well. Of course, you have to, you see, the problem is that if you put them in a so-called good school, the problem will be more. They are good schools, no? St. Aloysius and all kinds of schools like that. Actually, the best thing should be to put them in a school, government school, where they don't bother you much. And put them in a remote government school where the teachers also don't come. And would be surely they will be happy to give you attendance, no? Find a school like that. That's the best for your child. In fact, that is what we did for our brother's son. For 12 years, he didn't go to school. And then we found a school far away that he doesn't have to go. And, and in fact, what happens is that when the DEO or whoever comes to inspection, the teacher will come to pick him up, because if there are no enough students, they will remove one class, no? So the teacher's job to pick him up and, it was like that. And I'll tell you one very interesting thing. After 8th, he joined the school, again, the same government school, and all the exams he did very well. What I mean by that, physics, chemistry, and mathematics, he did very well. Biology was not good, because biology is not a science, actually. It's some language that you have to mug up, no? You don't understand it as a science. then language, all he had problem. But mathematics, physics, and chemistry, because it has to do with some science, he was able to understand it. I'll tell you the secret behind this. I'm sure most of you must have hated grammar when you were learning. No, when the grammar was introduced, that was the worst subject, worse than mathematics. Now, look at a situation where you have mastered your language very well. Now you are interested in grammar. Won't it become very easy for you to pay attention to how you are speaking? Grammar is nothing but the way you are speaking. It's only a question of reflecting on the way you speak, the way others speak. You are able to decode. You see, recognizing patterns is the structure of learning. That's what you saw, what the child is doing. Every time you find what is similar, what is dissimilar. So the moment you are able to pay attention, this is what I call as metacognition. You are paying attention, normal attention, normal cognition. Through normal cognition, you learned how to speak the normal language. Through metacognition, you pay extra attention if you want to understand the structure of language. Understand, huh? So similarly, what happened was that when the child was living without any hindrance, any total freedom, the child understood science, because science is nothing but the way we are living. That is the grammar of life. So when he went to 8th and 9th standard, the language was being supplied to the knowledge that he already has. I hope you understood this.
Yes.
Through living, he has understood lived science, the way you lived language. When language came in later at the 8th standard, he was only putting words to the knowledge that he already has.
Exactly.
So and finally, I would also like to tell you that I have really met somebody who is truly interested in learning now. He is doing physics now, final year. He actually has interested in science. You see, this is the difference. He's in love with it. He's not young boy. He's not wasting time on looking at, game and things like that. He's actually, YouTube he takes, he would look at what other physics people have talked about, quantum mechanics and all that kind of things he's interested in. Truly interested in, not for passing exam. So what I'm telling is that possibility exists in each one of us. We have been taken away from that.
So I had one of my friends' question is her son, her daughter is a teenager. So she has been conditioned to school all these years. Now that the mother has become more into nature and more into sustainability and stuff, she wants to know how to make, or how can I pull my daughter out of school and make her a self-learner? Is there something that I can do?
Absolutely, absolutely. You see, I have also been teaching in design and architectural schools. And in design and architectural schools, I actually engage with the first year. It's called the foundation program. Foundation program, I have developed it in such a way that it is a truly deschooling program. See, people talk about unlearning deschooling without understanding that. Actually, it is shifting from one way of knowing, which is your linguistic, rational, book-oriented way of knowing, into sensorial way of knowing. That is deschooling. That is actually reclaiming your biological ability to learn, which is what you are. So this is another thing that I have been looking at, that we have in India, we have created many alternative schools, but nobody has actually come up with a very interesting alternative college. And I believe that by looking into the pedagogical and the methodological ways of design school, without focusing on design per se, there is a possibility of recreating a fantastic learning environment for adults, where deschooling is the, reclaiming your original natural cognitive system is the thing. In fact, I'm actually offering very small, event called Reset. It's a reset, reclaim, reboot. What I mean is that, like a mobile phone, which is when out of order, you go into a factory condition, no? By resetting. Exactly like that. What is your reset means? Reclaim your natural biological capacity to learn. But for that, you have to undo many of the cognitive damages that has already happened, many habits that has happened to the brain, to the eye, to the way we engage with words. The way we see, one simple thing is that we do not know how to hold a doubt. We immediately want an answer. It is because throughout your schooling, you have always dealt with ready-made answers. But our true nature is to hold a question, because answer is something that happens to you. Please understand this. Understanding is something that you don't consciously do. And like, for example, the language. How did you learn the language? You had no idea of grammar. You didn't know the word, but you began to speak. The only thing you did was you paid attention to what was input. Input happens inside, like the way digestion happens to you, comprehension happens to you. Comprehension is a biological process. All the senses are giving input. But when you give a linear input of language, then reasoning becomes an added ability that you acquire to understand language. So the way cycle taught you how to cycle and develop certain habits, engaging with the printed word enables you with certain habits to engage with the written word. And those are detrimental for your engagement with the real world. That is the, whoever asked you, I think there is a possibility for setting up a fantastic program called Foundation, because see, understanding foundation is very crucial. How children build their foundation. Children build their foundation not from language, from sensory inputs. All the foundation, the foundational structure is only senses. But what we are doing is that because we are not allowing that to happen, we are imposing linguistic inputs, and the underlying foundation get disused. So today what you have is linguistic foundation. So what I offer in design schools is to bring back our original sensory foundation as the primary level from which you begin to engage with words. See, the idea of concepts and abstraction is a result of experience, actual concrete experience getting abstracted. Category is a concept. Fruit is a concept. Mango is a concrete thing. Am I right? So the child actually experiences individual things first, not fruit. They don't experience fruit. They experience mango. They experience banana. So as they experience individual things, depending upon whether it is sweet, they create one category, another category. Understand? Na? So this conceptual, how concept gets created, how abstraction happens, this is all very, very natural and normal to us. And I can tell you that most educated doesn't know any of these words. They use the word abstract concept, but they don't know what it means. And I can tell you, I understood only because I paid attention to children. No other way. I kept on paying attention to what they do. I kept on documenting what they do. I have thousands of videos on children, thousands of images. And as I told you, drawing is extremely crucial to understand. That if you can allow children to draw, but not forcefully, but don't give them art. I'll tell you the logic behind it. Any material, children will try to engage with it. So suppose when you give eraser to a child, for you it is an eraser. Am I right? There's a function. For a child, it is a material which is rubbery. See the difference? So children will look at it, understand the materiality of it. But you are forcing the function on the child. Understand, huh? That is why
Yes.
children will just rub and finish the eraser, because they want to know what the material is. They're doing what is natural to them. So similarly, when color comes in, color will become their topic of engagement. Like when a toy comes in, toy creates artificial play. When a child is using a mobile phone as a car, that is a cognitive process. It is not a play. They have not made mobile phone into a activity for playing. I hope you are making the difference.
Yes. Yes.
Understand now? So in the process of understanding, children will make use of different things. So drawing that way is a thing to understand the connection between 3D and 2D. Now let me ask you one more thing. That most of you, do you know where is Delhi? Do you know where is Kanyakumari? Have you traveled to Delhi? Or any such place, Bombay and all that? Or have you traveled to Kerala, Kanyakumari, like that? Okay. When educated people think of traveling to Delhi or traveling to Kanyakumari, internally they feel Delhi means going up, Kanyakumari means going down. Am I right? That's what is happening in the head. Is this true? What this means is that because we are engaging with a two-dimensional surface, a virtual two-dimensional realm, a cognitive space gets formed in us. You understand? That is why we engage with the world as if it is a book. So another example is that, when I ask you to imagine the earth, imagine the earth. What is the size that you saw? What size? What came to your mind? Globe, na? That's what. So this is the problem with modern educated, either they will see a photograph of Neil Armstrong shooting from the moon, or they will see the globe. You understand? This is the trap that we are in. We must understand that we are trapped by modern linguistic paradigm. The real world is something that is immense, unexplored. That is where we belong. That is where children are. And through homeschooling, through schooling, through all this, we are forcing them from their natural habitat, natural place of being, into an artificially created linguistic paradigm, which is consumeristic, which is capitalistic, which is cruel, which truth has no place. Truth has no place here. Because everybody has to do some kind of merchandise to live their life, and everybody has to pretend that they're experts. This is the tragedy of modernity. You cannot be true and tell that I don't know. And to be a truly exploring person, the first thing is that you say, I don't know, I don't understand anything. But nobody dares to show that, Everybody is an expert. So this is where we are trapped. And
Uncle, what are your thoughts on homeschooling? These days, what I see through homeschooling is children are being trapped and always found an activity to engage with, or always found an information to engage with. One is that. Second thing is, children are not mingling with many more children. They only have their children, only them. So I see this contrast difference from what I was seeing to what modern homeschooling has been doing.
Yeah, actually, see, again, structural problem with our society. Number one is that a child must experience at least 4, 5, 6, or 10 different age groups, meaning grandfather should be there, so child must experience different age groups. This is number one. No, if all of them are going to bully the child, better the child is alone. What happens is that everybody is spoiling the child, then it's a problem, Otherwise it's what I see in my village is that a child is able to see various activities of a life in a span of 10-15 days. Some death, some birth, some marriage, the child is able to see all kinds of different age groups. But this is what a normal village life was. A normal child was able to see all this, But now it's nuclear family, 2 age groups, usually the husband, wife also same age group today, because most of them are love marriage, almost same age group, and their friends are same age group. So children don't get to see many. Other very important thing is that if you are still okay, have 3 children. One child is, because we are all taking economic decisions. We are not taking biological decisions where keeping child as the center. Children require other children around them. And 3 children, you can even borrow, you can, adopt, do what you want. But children must experience more children around them. And other very important thing I want to tell you is that children are not at all egoistic. They are not individualistic. They are not self-centered. Their beingness is universal. Because we are so self-centered and individualistic, we turn them into selfish, self-centered people. By nature, children are not that. They are altruistic. They want to share. They don't have a feeling it is mine. They don't have a feeling it is mine. That feeling is installed by us. Ye tumhara hai. You give something, this is yours. In tradition, when something comes there, they don't insist and tell that this is yours. It is there, you can use it. Things are there. So vice versa, it's also very important that don't say this is mine. When you say everything is there for everybody to use, then that feeling of possessiveness will reduce. So there are many psychological and contextual, societal, structural problems that needs to be dealt with actually. So these small changes that, so the main change is us. How do we begin to change? And, so one thing before I forget, that if anybody is deeply interested in collaborative research, please connect with me. Because if you look at the Western paradigm of research, so many people are doing wrong research. Funding is fantastic funding. One PhD person will have, one professor will have at least 10 people supporting him with lots of money. And often in case of children doing absolutely wrong research. What I mean by wrong research is that you must study children in their spontaneity. Let me ask you this. If you want to study the nature of a dog, you have 3 options. One, you go to the jungle and see the dog in its nature. Second, a slightly different version is that you look at the street dog, which is again not controlled by. And third is the pet dogs. Whom will you study to understand the real nature of a dog? It has to be that, na? You can't study the pet dog and say this is the, What is happening today is that all our understanding comes from Western children who are completely conditioned and completely mechanized, capitalistic, toy-oriented. All the research and all the understanding comes from, the first paradigm is how to teach. And how do they do the testing? They will take the child to one, place for that. They will give them some beaker, one big beaker, small beaker, all kinds of strange experiments. Child taken out of its context. And then you pass judgments. No, if you do this, then IQ will improve. All kinds of things. This is absolutely a wrong way to understand a child. Child must be understood in their context. If a child is able to on their own crawl and climb up a chair, a table or whatever, they are intelligent, they are using their brain. At each stage, the child will do what it is required to do. So,
sorry, Uncle, one last question from my side, then we will open to the forum for the questions. So this morning, one person, knowing that today you're going to speak, but she's not part of the conference, what she had written to me to ask you is, I understand children don't need books, stories, toys, all this stuff, but my son is autistic. So every speech therapist I go to, every therapist that I go to, they only recommend developmental toys, developmental books and stuff. And so is this concept suitable for autistic children, was her question.
Absolutely. You see, I had 3-4 experiences of meeting with autistic children's mothers. So they have attended my courses, and I had no idea that their children are like this. So I found one lady coming, many times to my workshop. So third time I asked her, third time I asked her, why are you're here? So she told me that it has been extremely helpful for her to change her behavior to understand that particular child, her child. You see, what I am telling is that whatever is the situation of the child, they are autistic or not, biologically there's some structure is already given. So if you are sensitive to that, there is a way. See, I'll give you a fantastic example. Once I was in Pondicherry in some friend, he's an illiterate person. That's why he could think of like this. Actually, he brought in a dog which was having problem with the limbs. It was not able to move properly. Okay. The limbs, young dog, puppy, was not able to move properly. What he did was that he kept the food just 1 foot away from the dog. Right? 1 foot away from the dog. When the dog is really hungry, the dog would make all the effort, go to the food and eat. Each time this was happening, he kept on increasing where the food should be kept. I don't think that, that this will come into an educated mind's head, because we will immediately feel pity. We want to help. See, this is what we should understand. We are on a help mode. Children don't need help. Children need respect. Again, if you look at what is happening, similar kind of situations in the rural tribal area, you will find an extremely different approach. A handicapped child, sometimes you will find them even calling him handicapped, but the treatment is not like a handicap. That's the difference. A child who doesn't have a leg will not feel that he has a problem, because he will not be treated like that. He will be called one-legged or one-eyed, but he will not be treated. Here, what we are using is that we will call beautiful names, but our treatment is opposite. That's the problem. We will always make that person feel he is a disabled person. So we know how to play with words, but in actual life, we are a failure. So what I'm trying to say is that whether they are autistic or not, the thing is to understand because awakening senses and all that is extremely important. So what requires is a very, very sensitive parent, who can relook at all this. You see, again, one more thing. We ran a school many years ago, 2011 to 2013 in Pune. And I think the first year towards the end or so, one autistic child came. Because her mother, they are in America, Indians in America, and she has been looking around in many, many places where to put the child. And she somehow Googled and found the kind of school we were running. So she asked, so we had no problem, any child can come in. So that she came in, and our rule was that don't force anything onto children. You must give them enough freedom. And there was some conflict with all that. But to their surprise, they found that, you see, children actually, the other children were treating this child as an equal. This is the most important thing. So they would pull him into all kinds of activities. Within a year, tremendous change took place in this child. To whatever extent possible, because if there are certain biological, physiological limitations that you can't change. But what is now happening is that you're forcing things on them. This is actually far more truer for this ADHD and all that, You see, our nature is to physically engage with the world. We are curtailing all the time. And what is the end result? Most of us are extremely lazy today because when we were supposed to be moving around and building a sense of, non-laziness, we were not allowed to do it. 6-8 hours of sitting idle is what has made our body lazy. Childhood is not a time for sitting idle. It is for action. They should run around. So when you contrast, look at the rural tribal people. Very rarely you come across somebody who is lazy. Step into the modern world, you will find most of us are lazy. I'm telling, including me. I'm not, the laziness is what has eaten us up. So many of the approaches of Western world is absolutely wrong. The kind of labeling they're doing on children, ADHD, then there is some, something all on obedience, some syndrome. If the children don't obey what you say, then it is called some obedience, some syndrome. Many syndromes. All these are absolutely wrong. They do not know what the child is.
So true. So true. So, Minu, can we open the forum for questions from the audience?
You have to give me 5 minutes,
Yeah,
2 minutes.
Yes, Uncle, please take it.
It's actually open. So whoever wants to ask question, they can type it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw one question, which is IQ is increasing. This is not true, actually. That all kinds of information is increasing, IQ not. That just depends on what activity you do. Information, of course, is changing. but IQ is not changing. See, this is what promotion that the West will do continuously. You actually engage with most Westerners think that they are the most evolved biologically. Huh? I'm not talking about the physical change. I'm not joking this. I have heard some people telling me this. Their assumption is that they are biologically more evolved people. So then Waldorf, there was one question that any method is bad for children. Any method. As I told you, the best method is government school method. Least interference. Teachers don't come to school, fantastic. And better find a rural school, even better. One teacher handling the whole school or something like that, you know. Any method that gives too much importance to children in this manner is not good. Waldorf, they are very sentimental in approach to children. And I also don't agree with not the way they do art and things. You see, this is all fragmented. You see, our experience of the world, a holistic experience of the world means why, what, how are the three fundamental questions on which cognition is taking place. Why, what, how. Where and when is the context. Why, what, how are one at the level of value. You know, any action is grounded in value. Second is what you engage with. There is a knowledge element to that. Third is a sense of beauty in that. So actually, art is a modern construct as a product. Beauty is a quality that is within us. So I have done some workshops with children many years ago, rural children, and of course my method was always do nothing method, no teaching, nothing, just allow them. In fact, I'm trying to write a book on that. I called it Sensing Nature, Knowing Nature, and some beautiful things they started making. They are below 13, 14 years, up to 8 to 14 years. During the 2 months holidays, April, May holidays, we were doing this. Absolutely beautiful work. And none of them were even feeling that they were beautiful. So, and even if you look at my work with Potter's community, I later, maybe if you connect with me, I can give you all the links. Kumbham, the pottery community that I have been working with Potters in Kerala, I did a fantastic experiment. No teaching. I just created an environment for potters to create beautiful things, and fantastic thing began to happen, much better than any designer can do. Very original work, because they have nothing to copy from. So one thing that I found in my engagement with rural tribal people is that what they do is beautiful, whereas what we have to add beauty later. So for an integrated person, beauty is part of their response. It's not an afterthought. Fragmentation is that value is, you see, for example, look at the whole our schooling system. They added art, thinking that creativity and beauty is not there in schools. Much later, initial stages there was nothing called art. Then later they found that fellows are turning out to be rascals, so they added value education. But through value education, what did they learn? They learned how to tell stories. They remained the same. Rascal, but they became experts in telling stories. So, all the methods that are being used in the modern, is nothing but, you see, all repair jobs. You enter into a wrong paradigm and then keep on trying to do repair jobs. That's what we're trying to do. Shift your question. Move from how to teach into how children learn. Fundamental shift, or how life learns. Because see, there is no other species that teaches children.
Now a new word has come, how to facilitate a child.
Yeah, this is all, I'm telling you, all these are escape words. They have understood there is a problem, but they have no solution. You see, now it is also connected with jobs. No? So economic concerns are far more deeper than truth, engaging to science. You see, you look at the life that we are leading. We claim this is the most scientific of times. But aren't we leading the most unscientific lives? Look at the poisonous food we are eating. Or look at the lifestyle that we have. Psychologically, health-wise, the most unscientific lives we are leading, yet we are claiming this is the most scientific knowledge society. This is the paradox that I see. You go to any rural tribal area, I'm sure they are leading much more healthier life than us. So-called illiterates. Because see, what is scientific living? The way nature is living. That's what science is. Understanding nature is the crux of science. How does it function?
Shall I read out the question for you, Uncle, or if I think it's your lunchtime, you want to? Maybe we'll. I've got note. I have noted down questions. So you had if possible, you said you will join us on the last day of the conference. Maybe we can look at questions on that day.
Yeah, that's better. And what you can also do is that maybe many of them you can group them together. Many of them could be if possible. Let's look at some like that may be easier, and you can email me also beforehand.
Yeah, I'll do that. Categorize it, then I'll send you to.
Yeah. So just check with me what is the what is the best time for our, because I have few other things. So just check out. When is it? When are you?
This is I think June 15th. I will message you, Uncle. I'll message you.
June 15th may be difficult. That's why.
July 15th. July 15th.
Even that. Because I think from 11th I am going somewhere.
Okay, Uncle. Maybe even we can do this. I will send you the mail right away, the question. You can record and we can post it on for the July 15th thing.
Let me see.
Okay.
Or also we can break the rule and have one informal meeting much later when I'm back. Actually, I had to go to an Ayurvedic hospital. On 12th, I'm going.
Okay.
So it'll take about 20 days, So after that also, if you are okay with it, I can have one, small session. I mean, it's okay. I mean, whatever you say.
Okay, maybe like since we are having only one session per day, maybe sometime in the afternoons or evenings, whenever you're free.
Yeah. See, once I go to the hospital, I won't be able to do.
Yeah, I'll get in touch with you and fix a date before July 12th.
Yeah. So I'm sending my email to you. Other people can also take it. My number also.
Yes.
But may be difficult for very personal kind of engagements. But once in a while, of course.
Yes.
All right. But
I will pass them your Instagram handle. I think that's more.
Yeah. No, Instagram, I don't visit yet. I don't usually engage with any of these unless I have some, So any research, please email me, and then, research meaning, real hard work. So hard work meaning not too much, not the formal academic research I'm talking about.
Okay.
It's much more informal, but very committed and, things like that.
Okay.
So do connect with me, and I hope you found it interesting.
Yes. Many have written on the message, on the chat box, saying it is transformational. Thank you for being that in all our lives, Uncle. Thank you so much. Whatever the hard work and experiences that you have gained, you've gained it for all of us. Thank you so much.
But so if I'm telling you that, then don't stop engaging with children once your children grow up. That is the shift that at least some of you should make, This is not a temporary phase. Shouldn't
So
be a temporary phase. At least some of you should continue to, deepen this understanding of, children.
So I want to tell you a news with a question. So why did you say 3 is better and not 4 or 5? Why 3?
No, minimum 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, any number, no problem.
Okay.
1 is problem, too much self-centered, feeling singled out. 2 is, 2 will get into fight with each other. 3rd will come and make the compromise.
So I want to share this news with you, Uncle. I'm pregnant with my 3rd child.
Ah, fantastic.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. See you
Yeah.
soon. And
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
You would have seen her when she was months old. Now she's 4.
Ah, yeah, that was in Bangalore, no?
In Chennai.
Chennai. Yeah.
Thank you, Uncle. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yeah.